Welcome to She Sells Radio, my friend. I have got I think what will be a powerful and contemplative message for you today. How do you like that for a big word right off the bat? So, what I want to talk with you about today is what happens when your comfort zone becomes a cage. And this was really inspired by some work I was doing with a private client yesterday. And, like all of my clients, it's like this person is a high achiever, highly motivated. Other people would look at her and say, like, oh my gosh, you've got everything together, yada, yada. And in so many ways, she does. And as she got really real with herself, she found that there were many ways in which she was settling and many ways in which she was actually trying to fit into a box to please others, and a lot of this stuff is subconscious, right? But like to manipulate circumstances to work in a way that she desired them. And I don't say manipulate with negative energy, because I think we all do that, right? We all have, these are the things I would love to have happen in my life. So who do I need to be sometimes with other people to try to get them to do something so that I can have it work out the way I'm looking for, right? So she had found that she was really minimizing her desires in that moment and playing small to try to appease other people. And it was this thing where the old version of her, this was kind of her comfort zone. But the new version of her, the far more empowered version of her, the version of her who is going out and conquering the world and like living in so many ways, her most expansive, most abundant, most powerful life, this really wasn't in alignment. And showing up in this way wasn't alignment. Certain life circumstances weren't in alignment. And even down to where she's living no longer felt in alignment. And what was so inspiring was in that call to see her make the decision to step up and stop trying to show up in a certain way to please other people in a way that was really not pleasing to her. And to decide to kind of take the lid off of everything she thought her life and her business had to be, and be willing to look at if there were no consequences or limitations, since this situation is no longer serving you, what would happen? What would you do? Where would you live? How would you structure things in your company? And it was like this moment where literally I could feel the power going back into her body. And she was like, oh, like, I feel like myself again, because I'm no longer stuck in this self-imposed cage that I thought I had to be in to stay safe. And so I think for each of us in our lives, we can relate to that in one way or another, right? And whether it's for you, you've been in maybe a work situation for a while that used to be the comfort zone, but now it's like, it just feels like you've got to be someone other than who you really are at work to be quote unquote successful or safe. You find yourself holding back from what you really want to say. And sometimes it's a life situation too, right? Like the house that you're living in. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe it used to be the place that felt super expansive and wonderful to you. And now you walk in and you're just so uninspired. Whatever it is, as we grow and expand, it will happen that what used to be your comfort zone will suddenly feel restrictive, will suddenly feel small. And the beautiful thing about this moment, I'd say the sad thing is, so many times, how often do we stay there because we deem it security or safety, when in fact it's the very thing that's holding you back from everything you want. But the beautiful thing about this is you can shift it, and it just takes a decision. It just takes a decision. And one of the things that I talked about with my client yesterday was, where are you getting your certainty from? And where are you getting your security from? Because anytime we place that in anything outside of ourselves and whatever your spiritual connection is, you're going to be disappointed. If we I used to place my security and safety in money. I used to place my security and safety in other people. And I'm not saying those old ways of thinking don't still crop up for me. They do. I'm not saying this is easy work. I'm saying this is like the work, right? But we get these lessons and these opportunities to remember that anytime we think we're deriving safety and security from anything outside of us, and I'll say it again, like whatever your spiritual connection is, that's not security. That's flimsy. That's building a house of straw. Because some way, somehow, something's going to happen where a person disappoints you, or the money doesn't come the way you thought it was going to come, or whatever. And you find in those moments that the thing that you thought was your security and your comfort is gone. And so what do we do in those moments, right? Well, I think one, let's actually go back for a moment and talk about how do you know if you're in a cage, and then we'll talk about what do you do if your comfort zone has become a cage. Well, I would look at, and I think as I talk about this, you're going to know if you're living in a self-imposed cage at this point, because something about what I'm saying is resonating with you. Some part of what I'm sharing is resonating with you. I just this morning was texting with a client too, who was talking about like, I don't feel like I can fully say what I want to say on social and keep my job. And I was like, I get it. I have gone through times where I have made other people source, where I have made certain companies source, where I've done that. And I've found that I felt like, okay, to get hired by a certain organization or to, achieve a certain goal, like I can't say what I fully believe and what I fully think. And frankly, I'm at a point in my life where it's like, I know the most dangerous thing for me is to try to hold back from who I really am, because that freight train has left. And it's going to resonate with some people. It's not going to resonate with others, and that's okay. But that is an example, right? Do you feel like you have to be somebody else to please others or be safe and secure? Or look at, does what used to feel good and used to feel right and used to feel secure, does it no longer feel good, right, or secure? And then two, is what used to work for you no longer working? And that can be with how we approach our sales. That can be with how we approach our money, certain aspects of our lives. And so the invitation in these moments is to know that it's completely up to you to break out of the cage. And that's the invitation, is to realize, oh my gosh, like the thing that I thought was keeping me safe is actually me playing so small. And it takes a decision. It takes a moment of decision of, I'm not available to be in this cage anymore. And it may feel scary to look at what's on the other side, but I don't know about you. What scares me most is living a half fulfilled life and getting to the end and saying, I never really went for it, or what if, right? I think we're born with these gifts and talents and capabilities and possibilities, and you literally have the whole world in front of you. And with a life like that and an opportunity like that, why in the world would you play small? The goal can't be safety. If you're going to live a powerful, fulfilled, expansive life, the goal cannot be safety. It has to be, I love using this phrase, but experiencing the fullest expression of you. What is that like? Who is that person like? That fullest expression of you. And so if you're realizing as I talk, holy moly, I'm in a cage, what do? Okay, a few things. Number one, I want you to ask yourself the question, the same question I asked my client yesterday on our call. If there were no consequences or limitations right now, what would I do? If there were no consequences or limitations, what would I do? And you can, light a candle, like get in a beautiful space, do some journaling, but ask yourself, what would that look like? And you'll find things may come out for you that seem so crazy, so out of reach, so out of left field, but I want you to listen to those and trust those. And then from there, you've got to trust that because you are wired for expansion, because that is how you are physically and spiritually wired as a being on this planet, whatever is most expansive for you is going to be the right move for you. Whatever is most expansive for you is what's going to be the right move for you. And with that, the third step is, it's not that you have to do everything at once. Like if you're journaling and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm living in the States and I want to move to Paris and I want to create my own company and I want to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. Maybe you can do all that right now. If you can, go do it. But if you can't, you'll be able to at least take a step towards it. And the key is to take the action fast. When I was on this call with my client yesterday, it was like, what are you going to do today to take action towards this? And she made a commitment for something she was doing that same day. Because if you don't take action on it when it shows up, your brain will trick you into not taking action because it views the cage as the safety and the comfort zone, but it is literally blocking you from everything you want. So you've got to take an action, decide I'm taking an inspired action right now that's going to feel stretchy. It's going to show my subconscious. It's going to show the universe. It's going to show everyone that I mean business that this is happening. And then you get the train rolling and the momentum rolling there. So here's what I would love is I want to know your thoughts on this because this topic I think is so important. And I think it's something that we face all along our lives as we grow. And so I don't think it's a one and done type of thing. You'll go set this new amazing reality for yourself. And then at a certain point that if you don't keep pushing and expanding the limits, that may feel like a cage too. And so the point of this is if you find that you are in that space, you got to do something about it, my friend, because if we don't consciously step out of our comfort zones because the goal of life is for you to expand and see who you are and really live out your fullest expression, something will happen where you've got to step out of the comfort zone. And when I have the choice, I'd always rather be the one being in charge of that and taking the proactive steps and following the nudges, even when they feel scary. So let me know your thoughts on this. Send me a DM. I'm at Elise Archer on all social. I'd be super honored for you to share this episode with your network on social or with a friend who you think could hear it. But I want to know too, what is that thing that feels like the cage now that used to be the comfort zone? And what are you going to do about it? How are you going to stretch and step out? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you on our next episode of She Sells Radio.